Never heard of eminent domain?
Or evil government.
It's to seek eminent domain.
It's only a matter of time before the state acquires the land by eminent domain.
He's stealing your land! He's taking your birthright!
Where's something?
Yeah, stealing my land.
Sorry, time to move. Eminent domain.
Stealing land from the Indians and then genociding them.
Then you'll invoke eminent domain. Then you'll invoke eminent domain.
Sorry, time to move. Eminent domain.
Take your eminent domain and shove it up your...
Yo, yo, yo. Nah, I don't like it. Good evening. Can't do no yo, yo, yo. That just doesn't work. How you guys doing?
Yeah, no, you can't do like the CT dizub in the his house.
C to the D to the D to the W. No, it doesn't. The D to the D, it doesn't sound cool. Anyway, unimportant things in the first 30 seconds of our podcast, as you guys are probably very, very
aware. Right.
Guys, we're going to be
all
talking
the shenanigans
because
there's no good way to say hello.
Shenanigans, that's right, because we haven't found one yet, and I'm okay with that. That's fine, you know. Everybody's got their thing, and ours apparently is what's Vincent Price's voice saying good
awkwardness.
Evening. Yeah. So good evening, and guys, this is our CosmoVision that we haven't been able to do in a while because life. So we're doing one today because we think that this is really, really important. I think this was spurred on really by Maui's craziness, but really, I feel like we're probably we have a lot to just touch on. There's just a lot to say, I think, that we kind of both feel that way. And Shell's going to basically take the reins. I'm just going to give our plugins, and I'm going to say hi and let her get started. That's it. So, as you guys know, solo.to/ctdw, Spotify, YouTube, although I am migrating towards Rumble. We've already had 2 videos taken down off of YouTube, which they've been there for like months. I don't know why all of a sudden it's an issue, but whatever. Masks become important and particular interests become important. So I guess they start taking down stuff when truth becomes inconvenient.
That's exactly what it is. When the inconvenient truth is being
broadcasted,
looked at.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys can catch us there, guys. We have stickers almost done. We have our designs done.
They're really cool. They're really cool. Yeah.
I hope by I don't know. I mean, definitely by the end of this month, they should be ready to roll and be shipped out. So we're almost there, guys. We're almost there, or if not the very beginning of this coming month. So thank you guys if you voted. Thank you. Woo! We got some cool designs, and we got one more that we're trying to work out on the way. So as soon as we finish those, the idea is to start making shirts kind of with the similar designs, all that kind of good jazz. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, man, really, follow us on Facebook, X, which is Twitter. Follow us on, if you want, on Instagram. I don't really update it much, but we're there. And also on, what's the other one?
TikTok. Did you say Facebook?
I did. Facebook, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And TikTok. Yeah, we're on TikTok as well. And I mostly just upload our videos there, just our little reels and stuff. If you want to go watch them, that's cool, and follow us. You can still engage in conversation. We're happy to do it, man. So I'm going to let Shell get started. Really, I don't have much else to say. It's late here. We're just doing this bad boy because we feel super strongly about it, but we're both exhausted. So I'm going to let Shell take the reins.
It's been a busy week. It is a Thursday for us.
Yes. We were going to do this on Tuesday, actually.
We were going to do it last week, too.
That's true.
It's just, this is one of those things. We've been... Maui has been on our radar since that crazy fire.
Yeah. Strange fire.
Very, very interesting fire that people are acting really weird.
Somebody should get
about like
fired
not
for it.
normal people. It's really cool if you have looked at the reels, the YouTube shorts, TikTok. They're like cool heroes have come forward, and
Hmm.
and they just tell their story of just wanting to help out. And Rick and I were talking earlier in the week, and one of the things I really like, you don't see it in uh, in the American society that I grew up in so much. um, but the culture of the auntie and everybody is your cuz, or it's the way of Ohana. Everybody is your family. um, I think that Native Hawaiians call it the Aloha way. I have an affinity for Ohana. You guys can't see it because my head's in the way. Maybe you can. I have a really cool calendar that my husband and his brother made for me, and it is Ohana. Um, and it says Ohana means family.
Oh,
Um,
it sure does.
yeah, it's a real important concept to me. But this one guy was talking about, I don't know, the fire, was threatening but not quite there yet. And he was going. The police had already caused roadblocks, and he was going around and whatever. And he talks about how he sees um, this auntie, and he's like, "Auntie, what are you doing?" And she said, "My kids and my grandchildren are in, such and such neighborhood." I think they call a lot of their neighborhoods this village and that village, whatever. But
Hmm.
he was like, "Okay, auntie, where are they? I'll help you go get them." And I was thinking, why don't you know where your cousins live? And then
Hmm.
I realized he was saying, he was calling her auntie out of respect, and that close
Endearment.
knit culture that is Ohana. And I have so much respect for that. And that's how it is in so many other cultures, Korean culture, Navajo culture, cultures that I've had, uh, second degree uh,
Close,
interaction with,
close contact with.
close interaction with friends,
Hmm.
close friends, family members. I have a Korean auntie who's gone to be with Jesus, and I do mean
Hmm.
gone to be with Jesus. It's not a euphemism. I know my Aunt Misa knew the Lord, and followed him. She served him. But, she was auntie, and whenever we go to eat at our favorite like Korean places here in town, always it's an auntie who serves us. There's always an auntie in there who remembers you and takes good care of you, and that's what I think of. And Rick, you were talking about how it's prima and primo so much, and being in El Paso, that's how it is all around. Everybody's my prima, my prima, my prima. In Danny's family, we have so many of his cousins, and so many that I'm like, okay, is this one really your cousin, or
Yeah.
is this just your prima? Um, and I love that. I think that emulates God's heart, honestly. Very much. I think the older women should all be our auntie, and and we should be cuz with one another. And older gentlemen, they should be uncle. They have wisdom to impart to us, and I think that's part of what I love about the culture, that embraces like that too. I know at our church. We have people, and with Avi now, my grandson, recognizing people because he's 8 months old. um, he has, his Aunt Megan, his Marmee, and they're not related to him, but chances are extremely good that he will grow up being as close to them as he is to his real aunties, or his grandparents, because they live in other states, you know. Um, but I think God designs that for us. That's how you know you're at a church that is home for you and that is healthy for you, when you have people that you consider spiritual aunts and uncles, and people that you can point your children to for advice, because our kids can't always come to us, you know. Your children literally cannot hear what you say. Sometimes you say something and so else says it, and they're like, oh, so and so said blah blah blah, and you're like, I have said blah 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 literally 142 times to you. Oh, well, but so and so said. Go ahead, Rick.
You put the accent on the wrong. It's blah
Oh,
blah
was
blah,
it?
not blah blah blah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say it's blah blah blah.
Yeah, well, you're supposed to say it like Uncle Vlad. Blah blah blah. Yeah, no.
I do not say blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. That's one of my favorite quotes of any stupid movie to say.
I don't know
Anyway,
what that is. I'll take your word for it.
it's from Hotel Transylvania.
I was
I don't
wondering if that's
know,
what you were quoting. I've
two
kind
or
of
three, one of
sort of
them,
watched
when
those.
they have the baby.
With Adam
Um,
Sandler. Yeah.
I don't know. And you know what? I'm so picky about the things that I watch, but that particular cartoon movie series like tickles me. I don't know. I get a kick out of them.
That's funny.
Anyhow, um, all that to say, on January 13th, 2018, the inhabitants of Maui were sent an alert that said, missile strikes incoming, this is not a drill. I'm sure you will remember the videos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you might think, oh no, wasn't that just like last year? Or maybe that's just me, because 2020 is the year that never happened. So all my years are a little bit befuddled since that.
Golly, yeah.
But somebody made a mistake and used the wrong testing profile or texting profile to put out that emergency broadcast, and they were subsequently let go from their position. But people talking about it who were scared for their life and told to seek shelter found out, dude, there's no shelter. And you would think that in the 5 years since then, because that was 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago, that they would have, I don't know, revamped their system and kind of maybe figured out a better way to alert the population if something was awry on the island. But last month, in August of 2023, we found that no, this time, instead of scaring everybody witless with a drill, they didn't bother to sound any alarms for the real deal.
Just let them burn alive.
They did. Police, oh my gosh, police stopped traffic and told people stay where they are.
Impeded traffic, let's be clear.
Impeded isn't even, they completely blocked traffic.
Yeah.
I've watched so many videos, watched video of this woman willing to run the police over in her white SUV to get to her kids who were in their house, screaming at them, no, my kids are at home, I will run you over. And I thought, honey, just do it. But he's stupid enough to stand between a mother and her kids when a fire's roaring their way. Play stupid games. You win stupid prizes. Find out what happens. Go ahead.
The youngins say something else. That do something and
I
find
know.
out.
I
Yeah.
know. I had
Yeah.
to. I am familiar with that phrase,
I
and
figured
it
you might be.
somehow seems quite appropriate for right
Yes.
here.
Yes.
But we just say play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
You could say fornicate around and find out.
Keep fiddling about and find out.
Fiddling about. Fiddle around and find out.
Oh,
That's
somehow
very funny.
fiddling during this fire also seems to evoke memories of other bad governments and bad government actors.
We've never ever had bad governments in the history of humanity.
I know.
There's not been any.
There's not a
Praise God.
Nero or there's never been one. No, that doesn't happen. Not on this planet. No, sorry, Bob.
You can't even say like there hasn't been one in the past 5 minutes. Like there's just always one.
It's like
Oh,
there are
man.
so many. It is astonishing. But
We have a wide variety.
take your pick. It's like jelly at the grocery store. You're
Do you
so
have
over.
one? Do you have one that speaks Arabic? Maybe one that speaks Chinese? I don't know if there's any.
Oh
Maybe.
man. In the end, I'm just gonna leave with my strawberry jam
There you go.
because too many to choose from. Like I could spend hours on the ineptitude, and I'm just hoping
Let's do
it's
it.
ineptitude. I'm hoping it's ineptitude,
You
and
and
it
I-
is not.
You and I have been very clear about this. Like, I don't. Here, I'm just going to give my 2 cents on this issue, and you can continue.
Good, you be the bad guy,
as
and I'll be
you-
the good cop.
That's fine. You can be the good cop if you want. I am the one who has very little faith in humanity because I just know how evil we are. And I include myself in that bunch.
Oh yeah.
Sinner of sinners, man. I am no saint
Except that the
by
word of God
salvation.
says.
Yep. So I don't. There comes a point when you watch your government committing
Atrocities.
allegedly, right? Committing a color change in increasingly fast motion, allegedly. That you just don't give them the benefit of a doubt anymore. And I just don't. I don't believe it anymore. I don't think it's ineptitude. Part of it is definitely ineptitude when people are ridiculous at completing an endeavor. It's certainly part in maybe even in large part ineptitude. But I don't think you can just attribute at this point where we're at in the nation and frankly in the world. You cannot attribute, or you can attribute malice where you could have otherwise attributed ineptitude. I just don't buy it anymore. I really don't. I mean,
It's really
trains
really
just
difficult.
suddenly derailing out of nowhere. Residents in
okay.
Ohio like getting sick, insanely sick. I mean, it just
You know
it's
what?
just-
Even okay, trains go off the track.
sure.
Wildfires happen. Okay. When trains go off the track, we just let caustic material burn unchecked for months
We have FEMA. Why?
with no aid given. I mean,
But we'll send billions to another country, but you can have $700. Here you
so I heard an auntie say today on one of the videos. Actually, so an auntie started it, and then it was Tulsi Gabbard said. She said, let's just rename Maui the Ukraine and see if we start getting some federal aid then. And I just thought it was very funny to me.
Yeah, for sure.
We've given billions of dollars to Ukraine, We've given more than $6 billion to Ukraine, kind of erroneously. They were like, oh, we did the math wrong, and hey, there's more money to throw into this, dumpster fire over here. That's going to eventually be the beginning
Well,
of
when you can print,
WWIII.
yeah, well, when you can print as much money as you want, it doesn't really mean anything. I
Yeah.
mean, it's when
I
you
know
go,
neither does the money you print.
well, correct. I mean, until it does, until it doesn't, right?
Right.
It does until it
Until
doesn't
the
anymore.
loaf of bread costs a day's wages. All of a sudden you understand how that could happen.
Showing up pressure. That's
Don't
how it
do it.
happens.
Don't do it.
Oh, you don't want me to do it?
I know what you want to do. Don't do it.
All right,
That
I won't
one's
do it.
okay. I'll take
I
that
won't do
one.
I'll do it when you least expect it.
Right. I've seen videos of people on the ground in Hawaii talking about running out of body bags and having to get ordering in like 800 more body bags, but they're saying that the death toll is a little over 100.
Has reduced to 50 something now from 100
No
and whatever it
way.
was. That's what they
No,
said.
no.
Yes,
No, that's
yes.
missing. That's who's missing. So it went from a couple thousand
I don't
missing
know.
to
Maybe I am mixing up
to
my
to like
stats.
56 or 66 people still missing. And only like 111
Maybe I'm thinking that because it gives the illusion that everything's
confirmed dead.
wrapped up.
That's insane. But then uh I've seen people like choking back tears, men and women talking about the devastation they've seen. Whole families and cars burned to, one person said, what did she call it? Cinders, burnt to cinders.
Yeah.
Families all huddled together, burned up their bones in ashes. They're just scooping everything. Oh gosh, I guess we should have given a little bit of a trigger warning. Trigger warning. Um, Scooping them up into bags to comb through later, and the government just keeps mitigating it. Oh, it was only a few people,
Well,
and
not only
we're
that,
taking care of them. FEMA's on the ground
they're not
doing
even
nothing.
allowing them to enter into their homes for their own belongings or for
Yeah.
anything left over, any tiny semblance of anything left over.
Very few, very few people have been allowed in. There's one guy who has a drone,
Hmm.
and he is his house is
I think
in
I've
an
seen that
area
guy.
that was unscathed. Yeah, the guy who his neighbor's trash can and
Uh huh.
fence burned, and the air conditioning unit, but the houses are unscathed except that the guy's keypad to his garage, his oh, what is that called? I mean,
Garage door code
alarm, yeah,
keypad thing
alarm.
alarm.
The cover burnt on the ground. I mean, it's hard to tell what it was, but it's roughly the size of the keypad cover that had been on the house before the fire. But the keypad itself, not melted. Like some astonishing things, but he does drone footage um, over the island because they've removed the barrier now.
Well, they finally
And
have removed it.
yeah, I think it's because they took away all the cars that were charnel houses.
Amazing.
So, um,
Didn't want them to see all that molten metal on the ground, huh?
I don't think it was the metal on the ground so much as the once biological contents inside.
Well, also.
Um, we couldn't just talk about Maui. Couldn't talk about, are there missing kids? I'll tell you, I went to Nickmick, which is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. You can go there by going to missingkids.org, spelt exactly how you think it should be. Um, there are only 2 Hawaiian children um, listed as gone missing from August 1st to today. They're both 2 teenage girls. I know because I went and I looked to see, if there were missing kids from Hawaii, and how many, to see if we could get a bead on the number. I think because so many families are gone, I'm very interested to see what these numbers are going to end up being. It might just be something people blew out of proportion. I don't know. I can't get any reliable information.
I don't think anybody can.
Right. Well, and I feel like it doesn't matter to the government to get it.
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter. You've got that idiot, was it the mayor of Lahaina or Maui?
Yeah, it was the mayor. Yeah, it was. It was the governor's Josh. What's his name, right?
Yeah, talking, gosh, like the things they talk about. Oh, we want to put up a memorial over people's houses. How about you put a house over where their house was, and you let people get back to their lives on their land, in their homes, starting over. The 6 billion, if we can send 6 billion to Ukraine, we can send the 5 billion it will take to rebuild Lahaina to American citizens. Let's give them back some of their tax money and let them choose to build their homes with it, and not have the threat of eminent domain hang over them. And before we get into eminent domain, I want to briefly touch on some of the things that we've seen happen in the same time period as the Maui fire was in the news.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have Trump's arrest and indictment. We have the Texas AG's impeachment and the gag order, so that Pax wasn't able to say anything in his defense, but that the Senate could go ahead and feed their cronies the media. What do we call this media?
The propaganda machine.
I mean, yes, but there's another name for it. The old standard media.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The Cromkite era.
No, that's
legacy,
when there was
media.
legacy media. It is what I'm thinking of. Yeah, all the, I was going to say damning evidence, but there wasn't evidence. So it was just the smear against him. Just all of their things they were trying to bring against him.
They're political rivals. They're true political rivals.
Like, this is, we have really, like, we are acting no different than any 2-bit banana republic. Like, no different at all. None. No difference.
It's so funny that you say that. Several years ago, when it was the whole issue with the election, and people were, I don't believe it, I do believe it, blah, blah, blah. They were at each other's throat. And just before that happened, a friend of mine was telling me, he's like, you you don't 100% believe that this was. You don't believe that the election could have been like the amount of votes could have been changed and this and that, blah blah. And I go, why not? Like, why couldn't it be? You know, like,
I mean,
and I'm just
I
saying. I'm
believe
just
that
saying
it
here.
most assuredly could
Yes.
have been.
And that was precisely my point. And I go, he goes, we don't have any proof and this and that. And I go, okay, fine, but you don't think it
I
could
don't have any
happen?
proof otherwise either.
Right.
Right.
And I go, well, nobody's allowed to look into these things, so how would you have any proof? And so he's like, well, no, they've already explained this and that. And I go, are you serious, bro? You really buy that? He's like, oh, man, this is not Venezuela and this and that. Because he's from Venezuela. And I get it, you know? But I go, bro, where you come
Ask him
from?
in another 6 months if this is like
Well,
Venezuela.
this was several years ago before all this insanity that we're watching happen, right?
Right.
This is when what will we call it? 49, which means 19. So you can think for yourself. That's Chinese for the other. When 49 was happening, my buddy was like, no, I mean, this is when all this was kind of still spacey. We didn't really have any, gauge on anything.
Right.
And I just was blown away. Like, he's like, well, but think about if that is true and that does go forward, think about what that's going to do to the dollar. And I'm like, really, you're putting faith in the dollar? The dollar that they removed from the gold standard, like, what was it, back in the 70s?
Oh no,
Really,
we
bro?
removed it. We removed it from the gold standard way before that. We removed it off of the silver standard back at the time that a certain man named Frank L. Baum decided to write a little children's book series known as The Wizard of Oz. That's what it's about. It was a homily, if you will, about the dangers of leaving the silver standard, which Dorothy's shoes were not ruby red, they were silver. And if you have not read The Wizard of Oz as an adult, I strongly recommend that you do. You can download a copy for free because the copyright is out. It's now a public entity. Whatever. There's
public domain or whatever.
Public domain. That's the right word for it. But you can read it, and you'll see it's a very interesting. He was trying to teach the adults the dangers of the Federal Reserve and leaving the silver standard, having the greenback, the dollar bill, have no backing, no gold backing, no silver backing. It has no backing. That's why the Emerald City is green. But spoiler alert to anybody who has not read the book and now plans on it, when you go into the Emerald City, you have a pair of glasses locked onto your face. And everything has a green hue to it. And then when you leave the Emerald City, they take off the glasses, and there's a scene. Dorothy looks at this one girl who has been with them the whole time, and I can't remember her name. I think it's Hannah or Anna. And the green dress she had been wearing turns out to have been a white dress all along. So just the I think Baum, did his own version of rose tinted glasses, rose tinted windows.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. It was 71, by the way, when we went off the gold standard.
Off the gold standard? Well, and that's because we had nothing left in Fort Knox.
Not wrong.
It was all gone.
I am not a crook.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? In my long list of the interesting things that I see being fervently attacked, like you had mentioned, very fast, very furious. The dollar is is
Terrible
not
choice, by
one.
the way.
Oh, you know what? And I just think more about the ATF
Sorry,
Fast and the Furious.
it was a stupid joke.
I know. They weren't all that bad of movies
They were
until
pretty
the
bad.
last couple.
They were pretty bad.
I mean, if you want to
Tokyo
sit
Drift.
and
Come on.
oh,
Tokyo
so
Drift is
Tokyo
bad.
Drift really stunk from the beginning, but
Saimono.
but 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 were okay. If you wanted to sit in a movie theater right around my birthday time, because that's when they always came out,
Oh my gosh.
and just enjoy some mindless, um, some mindless entertainment. At least there wasn't like a bunch of it didn't glorify sex or drugs.
You're kind of going weird with. You said it
Uh,
didn't. Your mic was being weird.
it didn't glorify sex or drugs so much.
Yeah.
It just was a lot of fast cars and testosterone
Nothing wrong
and
with those things.
very, very unbelievable storyline.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. A little
But
bit.
anyhow, so there is, however, the Fast and Furious ATF things going on, and
Oh, right.
it seems like we have to have whistleblowers everywhere for stuff because the people in the know just can't keep
Don't care.
letting. Well, except for the whistleblowers, and they're
Yeah.
at the
Well, and there's
point
no
where
there's no protection for them.
they can't be quiet anymore, even though, yeah,
True.
I mean, their everything is at risk. Their life, their
We
livelihood, their
we
families,
were talking about something actually
reputation.
right before, like kind of conversing before this episode, and I think it's worth mentioning that I think we're coming to a point where we have to make a decision on how important we think it is to stand up for the rights we have.
Gosh,
Um,
right.
I think we're reaching a critical mass with that kind of thing, and I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in here about the Roman Empire thing. You guys have probably heard that there's a trend going around. I actually think it's worth mentioning. I really do, for a lot of
That's
reasons.
interesting.
It is very interesting that wives go up to their husbands, or girlfriends go up to their boyfriends and ask them, "Hey, um, how often do you think about the Roman Empire?" And a lot of guys, I would say on average, a lot of guys just say, I don't know, once or twice a week or something, and they're like, "What? What do you mean once or twice a week?" She's like, "What do you think about the Roman Empire?" And then a lot of guys will give them like straight answers, but a lot of them will also be like, "Why don't you think about the Roman Empire? Like, how can you not think about the Roman Empire?" And I particularly am relating it right now to a lot of what we're seeing, and really just the decadence of this country. But it's not just limited to this country, right? We had Rome had all the excesses, and that was when its fall came. And part of that was because of the excesses, right? But the other part was like they spread themselves so thin, and that's what we're doing. And somebody pointed
Oh
out
yeah.
they made I watched a really really good little short. It was this guy that was on David Bett, and he was saying, he's like, "So you really think this is comparable to Rome?" He goes, "Absolutely." And I think he was making the same point. He says, um, we're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, but we have tons and tons of people in the streets that can't pay for anything, and are drugged out, and I mean, just like, are just wasted. They're just wasted away. And I mean, we're watching I won't even say sexual promiscuity. I think that kind of doesn't even do it justice to what we're watching. Like, just the butchering of bodies, and the melding of ideas that aren't even coherent. I mean, those are all signs of a decadent empire or culture demolishing. And I think that it's extremely relevant for that reason, because we're watching a lot of that stuff happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, "Well, this is the end of America." And a lot of people are like, "No, we're going to rise back." I don't know, man. I can only tell you what I feel like the Lord has told me, which is that He says He's not done with this country. I know that seems arbitrarily optimistic, and I've told the Lord as such. I'm like, dude, I don't. You must see a lot more potential with this place than I do, because I'm sort of like, I don't know what there's left to save. And that's not to say I don't love my country. I love my country to death, especially having lived abroad. You appreciate things a lot more
Right.
when you're not here. But I think we also need to come to terms with a lot of these things. Sorry, Shal, I didn't think I was going to go this way. We kind of just did.
That's okay. Go.
I think we need to, as a culture, really come to terms with things that and really realize that, frankly, the vast majority of our government hates us. They hate us. We are nothing but cannon fodder to them.
Again, though, you hate those you have wronged,
Yeah,
to despise those that you use, those that you abuse, those that you have sinned against.
sure. I totally agree with you. And it's just, I think that as a country we need to come to understand that our government is broken, very, very, very broken. If you don't believe that, if you still think it's the problem because of the left, or you still think it's a problem because of the right, you're not, you are refusing to see the ailments of this country. Frankly, you are. There are some very, very sinister people that have a lot of power in this country, and frankly have a lot of global power that live in this country. And that's not to say it's not interconnected, but we have a lot of three-letter agencies that have perpetrated a lot of these huge injustices.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Huge. I mean, not just here at home, but all abroad. And I think actually we're only starting to realize it because it's happening here.
Right.
But these have been going on for good God, for forever. Operating under the guise of secrecy for protection. That's always one of the government's favorite way to do things. Oh, we're just doing it to protect you.
Your
Otherwise you could get hurt.
safety.
Yeah.
Your safety. Your neighbor's safety. The safety.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I can go into the eminent domain thing if you want me to.
I wanted to
touch on something else?
mention. Yeah, I just wanted.
it.
We were talking about the things that have been done very blatantly.
Oh yeah.
That go against
Oh, which is why I was talking
our-
about we need to wake up. Right. Got it.
our Bill of Rights.
Right. Rights.
Right. Right. All right. Sure. Those. Do
No,
they
there's
really
a bill
even
somewhere.
exist?
I mean,
Oh, let's
sure.
see. What did I say? Oh, I talked about Trump's arrest.
Right.
And Pax's impeachment.
Mm.
All what, 16, 17 gosh, what is the word for that?
Impeachment
Indictments.
articles? Articles of
Indictments.
impeachment. Oh, okay.
Uh,
Indictments, I see. Yeah.
all of the indictments he was cleared of. He was cleared of them all.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
gosh.
I don't know
what's
if
going
you
on in
mentioned
New
this,
Mexico?
but they went straight to it. Like they didn't even.
Yeah.
I mean, they just pushed it through. They didn't even put it up for vote. Nothing. They just let's do this. It's
They
crazy.
did. They were like, we're going to get them. There's all this hard proof, and then nothing stuck. Everything they threw at that wall just slid right off.
Russiagate 2.0, huh?
Man, or 3.0, or I'm not sure, 15.9.
Probably it's an what is it, exponential level now.
Right, yeah, at this
Crazy.
point we're to the nth powers. The lunatic in New Mexico
Oh gosh.
who
Can't
said,
believe she was a lawyer. Crazy woman.
I'm not sure what planet she's from,
It's not an American one.
said that I declared this an emergency and so you can't have guns. And It's an emergency because she
Which-
wants it to be an emergency.
Which is funny because New Mexico's fairly blue.
Oh
actually.
no, New Mexico is super blue. The only place
Yeah.
it's not blue is right at it's the people who own the oil.
Yeah.
So Carlsbad and Artesia are not blue. They are the money and they are the red.
Yeah.
Everything else in that state is super
It's
blue. It's a
super
very,
blue.
very, very blue state.
I remember during.
But you know what?
sorry,
Those
go ahead.
people aren't standing for it, though. As soon
which
as
is my
she said
point.
you don't have the right to have your guns for
She's
this
like-
next little bit, this short term that I have deemed an emergency.
And even the cops were like,
No, we're not
no,
enforcing
we're
that,
not
you
doing that."
nut job. I don't need. I'm surprised that they haven't already started impeachment for her.
There was an interest. Even CNN was pushing back on her, like saying, "But is this constitutional?" And she goes, "Well, we'll just have to wait and see what the Supreme Court says." I'm like,
Would you like to
What?
read the Constitution? I'll print out a copy for you right now.
okay,
What's your
cool
mailing
story,
address?
dude. Cool story.
Then there are the littler things that we're supposed to, I really think, prep us for going along with these things over the last month. There were things like 2 weeks to slow the spread, flatten the curve, mask up for your neighbor's safety, take the poke.
No,
Take the poke so you don't make grandma sick.
no.
Avoid church. The COVID's rampant there.
Definitely going to church.
But you can go to Walmart.
Only if you're Black Lives Matter.
No, you can go everywhere if
I
you're
know.
BLM.
Yeah, exactly.
But everybody could go to Walmart. You're not going to catch anything. Don't worry. Don't worry about the 500 people that touch that can of peas. You just take that can of peas home and put it into your pantry and then pull it out sometime later. There's no such thing as cross-contamination. Don't worry. You're good. Put your mask on. Walmart's safe. You don't have to wear a mask if you're sitting down eating because germs only float up here. You only need the mask when you're standing, not when you're sitting eating.
You could only go into places in like Walmart and stuff like that because they're big chain stores and they have all sorts of money connections with all sorts of local and larger government entities.
What? People made money off of it? No.
I can't believe it. That's crazy. You mean like mom and pop stores weren't going to make money for anybody? Oh, they got to close.
I know.
Churches don't make any
right?
money for anybody. Oh, they got to close. Ah.
The places you could go. Wear your mask at the park.
Wear your mask only when you're walking. As soon as you sit down,
You're
you'll be
safe
fine.
in your car driving by yourself.
Yeah.
Lord.
I know this is very crude, so I'm just gonna put out a disclosure. I heard someone say that putting a mask on in your car and driving around by yourself is the equivalent of wearing a condom on your bed and laying there by yourself.
Yeah. And it seems rather appropriate, doesn't it? Somehow it just ticks all the same points.
Good stuff.
So here's my deal with all of this. And I haven't even talked about mis and dis info. Which is why we get things taken down, because so when we are looking at this little thing called the Constitution of the United States of America. Oh, you did find yours. I did not find mine. Guys, I was looking. I have all sorts of other your little booklets that how laws are made, our flag, whatever. But I think I lent the Constitution to a student and never got it back. So I'm kind of sad. But
Lame-o.
thanks to the interbuts, I can just type in Constitution and just pull a PDF right up. It's amazing.
Constitution. Yeah. Well, at least for now, like I was telling you. See how much longer
So
that lasts.
let's look at Amendment 1 and see if it says anything about not being able to speak what other people don't like.
I'll follow along.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Oh, religion. Oh, they could, but I thought they closed the churches for our safety.
They did.
The establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech. Oh, even mis and disinformation? No, it'll be up here. Watch. Freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble. I don't know. Like, a lot of people are going to jail for a lot of years for assembling. And to petition the government for a redress of grievances. You can't go to our government to gripe about the government. So PAX falls under Amendment 1. Mis and disinfo, church. Okay, we'll let. Oh, are you gonna put them up?
Yeah,
That's
I'm gonna pull it
great.
up real quick.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, there we go.
Amendment 2, Miss Governor of New Mexico, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Doesn't say anything about hunting weapons or something to protect yourself in your house. It says necessary to the security of a free state. Free from
Imagine that.
who? Free from the tyranny of our government.
Free
You
from the
get
state.
your power from us. Your power, you don't get your power any other way. You get it from the consent of the governed, you tyrant.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, too, we'll go right there. So, and there's Amendment 2. Amendment 3. No soldier shall in the time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in the time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So far, the Third Amendment seems to be setting pretty soundly.
We might house some troops in Ukraine at some point, but right now we're fine. I think we're fine.
I mean, that's not our houses. That's their houses.
Oh, okay.
The ones left standing. What we might do, because, Eric.
By the way,
the
I should
mayor.
also mention, just a super, super quick caveat. I do not blame any of the people, the actual populace
Ukrainians?
of Ukraine, for any of the things going
Or
on.
even the Russian people. Man, you cannot blame the people of a place for their government's.
I mean, you can to an extent, but I mean, you can't blame the whole populace. I mean, we're kind of living
Right.
through that right now, right?
Right. So going back to the Third Amendment, being as New York City is a sanctuary city. So we're giving them what they asked for, praying for rain and bringing an umbrella and all that good stuff. Their mayor is talking about possibly having people, paying people to quarter.
That's right. I forgot about that.
What are we calling them? Not illegal immigrants, but immigrants who aren't here legally. I'm just trying to find the nice way to say
immigrants
it.
who hold no legal status to be here.
Okay, who have no sponsor, no place to go. They're thinking about putting them up in people's houses and paying people a stipend for it.
Yeah, they were getting like booed off of the stage, basically.
So there's three amendment. Okay, Fourth Amendment. The rights of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation. Not that that means anything in today's society, and particularly describing the
Hmm.
place to be searched and the person or things to be seized.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's a tall order nowadays.
Somebody said something that somebody was somewhere on a date, and so we are breaking into your house, or some parent was ticked at they have pornographic books in the library and spoke up at the place they're supposed to speak up, which would be a school board meeting, and are labeled as terrorists. And their homes broken into, or people trying to save the lives of preborn babies.
Yep.
And the, so, okay, Fourth Amendment not inviolate. Amendment 5.
Oh yes.
Yeah, here we get to the crux of today's Cosmo. No person shall
Hmm.
be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in the cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor and here's where we come to the point we want to make, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation.
Yeah.
There's so much scuttlebutt. The I think it was the Maui mayor. You can Google it and find it. Um, Talked right away about eminent domain and about no, oh no eminent domain. We're not. We will make sure that everybody is safe, but maybe we'll take some of this land and we'll build a memorial on it.
Repurpose.
So
Okay, cool.
without just compensation, Rick and I were talking about this because my idea of justice, and I think it's reasonable, is what the person being forced to give up their home considers just compensation, not what the government, who has the upper hand and who is taking something that somebody else wants to keep. It's not their idea of just. It's the person being forced out of their home that chooses what is just compensation.
Hmm. Yep.
Rick, you were going to say something about a pink house,
I was. But
not a blue
before,
house.
but before I do that, I would like you guys to watch something we were just talking about. Um, you were talking about a memorial and how we think that governments love to put up memorials because they think that that gives them some sort of superpower to do whatever the crap they want.
I think
Um,
it's too because they can touch it and say, look, this
uh-huh,
thing right here, we're
uh-huh.
touching it. See, we did that. We do care about you. See, look at the pretty statue.
I would like to share something. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this footage, but I'm going to put it up. There's no audio, um, so it should be relatively short. Um, and I think it's worth showing. And you guys will see why I'm doing what I'm doing in a second here. don't know if you guys have seen this footage, but this is the footage on 9/11.
Oh, is that the Pentagon?
That's the Pentagon. Watch, it's going to take a second here. It's super short. There's only there's only one frame. See that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
What does that
Wow.
look? What does that look like to you? What
The
does that look like
world's
to you?
smallest passenger plane. That looks like a
Look at
Boeing
that.
747 to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, right. Why am I bringing that up? Well, I'm bringing it up because governments, just like you said, love to give some sort of palpable thing that they can literally touch and draw on, even though they created the problem in the first place. They love to do that crap. They love it. They love it. If they can mess it up and then make you come eat out of their hand, they're happy to do it. So, anyway, I just wanted to put that out there.
You notice nobody ever talks about the Pentagon anymore, though.
What do you mean?
When talking about 9/11, nobody talks about the Pentagon
No.
being attacked. They just talk about the towers, the Twin Towers.
Sure.
And
because-
sometimes, the fifth tower.
Yeah. Because that's the only thing that can really draw any emotion, and we can all come together around. I mean, back in the day when I was a kiddo, I never even really thought much of it, but golly, man. Anyway,
I did because I remember the day very, very
Yeah,
well.
I do too.
I remember the day, and I remember I remember all the initial reports because I was living on a military installation.
That's right.
My one mom was active. My biological mom was active duty. My stepmom was working for a congressman. I think he was just a congressman at the time. He did become a senator at one point too. But I was scared to death.
Yeah.
My husband was on a different military base doing training, and I didn't know, if they were going to be the next strike. We didn't know if our military base was going to be
Yeah.
the next strike because we were at NTC, the training center. And so I remember all of those things. I was an adult
Crazy,
with
man.
young children,
Oh yeah.
and
Sure were.
I remember when they said that the Pentagon was attacked, that a plane went into it, and then they showed pictures, and it just didn't look like it was a plane. But then they quit talking about it, like it was almost like a crap.
Yeah.
It-
That's right. I had forgotten about that.
Type
But that's very
thing,
much right.
and then like they don't talk about it now in the memorials and stuff. Oh, they're quiet about the Pentagon.
Mhm.
To the public at large. It's just
Yep.
as a matter of fact, if people weren't alive during that time, the people who are 22 years and younger
Probably don't know about it.
may actually have it may have
That's crazy.
absolutely no bearing to them whatsoever.
Probably doesn't. Anyway, moving on from that lovely thing, we're going to move on to another lovely thing, which is right up that same alley. Shell, before we did this podcast, she was telling me, I'm going to look into eminent domain and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And, excuse me, guys. I ended up actually looking more into eminent domain on this case than she did, and I got some pretty interesting information. And I'm just going to kind of share it for you guys, kind of an open thought, because I've kind of been processing it during the week. And what was particularly interesting to me is kind of what eminent domain is. We just read it in the Fifth Amendment. It's essentially that the government for public use. And we'll get back to that in a second. Gosh, literally when we were reading these amendments, I was like, as a linguistics graduate, I'm reading this stuff just like, oh god, no wonder these people are so filthy. They just manipulate every potential word that they can to make it fit whatever they want.
Right. Yeah, it's
and-
not about what's right or wrong. It's
No.
how if you can fit it into the parameters
of
of
what you need.
law.
Yeah, yeah, of what you need, correct, and of course make it fit in law. Well, I started getting into some background about eminent domain, and there was basically poor black and brown, mostly black neighborhoods. I think it was back in the 50s or 60s. I can't remember exactly when it was, and they needed this land to build something. The government petitioned the land to do something, and
Yeah, they
this
needed another mall.
right, right. Um, and this was actually at a time where where blacks were not struggling nearly as much as they are in a lot of their neighborhoods right now, right, that are predominantly black. That this was really a growing. I can't remember. I think it was in. I want to say it was in Philly, but I might be totally wrong. I don't take my word for it. It doesn't matter. It's kind of irrelevant. The case happened where they moved these people out, but they didn't even get housed again. Like, and when they got housed, like they like got like shacked up in apartments and stuff, and that kind of thing is a direct meddling in generational wealth. And those families could have very easily, even though they were in low income housing or whatever, they weren't in a really affluent neighborhood, that neighborhood could have very easily become affluent if the community was left alone to do its thing. But no, we had to come in and build something. Well, that received a lot of criticism for obvious and good reason.
Right.
And later down the road, that was one case. I can't remember the name of that case off the top of my head. I'm sorry, guys. It was just thing after thing this week. We come to the one that I'm really going to get to, which is relevant kind of to pointing at what's going on sort of at Maui right now. And that's the one that I think everybody's a little bit more familiar with because it was such a big case. That is the case of Kilo versus, was it Connecticut? No, it wasn't Connecticut. I can't remember what the name of the Kilo. Let me look it up real quick. Kilo versus New London, Connecticut. So what had happened was that this lady was a paramedic. I watched the movie called Little Pink House. I really recommend you watch it. It's like an hour and a half. It's super super short. It's like a not a documentary, but it's like a docu movie kind of
Docudrama.
yeah, you're watching it happen and stuff. Well, she's a paramedic. She had used to had been living in a small little community, I think, growing up and everything, and she moved out of it, did her thing, and she, in the movie, she sees her patient that she's taking to the hospital ends up being one of the neighbors from that neighborhood. So she ends up buying this house. I mean, it's a total fixer-upper. Like, she tears the thing down, puts it all back together, does everything. I mean, from the ground up, she rebuilds this thing, paints it, I mean, like, petal rose pink.
Pink.
It's super, super notable, hence the name Little Pink House. Well, as time goes on, someone comes in, and you're going to love some of these details in a second. Actually, all of you guys are going to love some of these details in a hot second. So they have their neighborhood. It's nothing fancy, and she doesn't have a lot of money for a house. Like, this is what she can afford, right? And a lot of times I feel like, as you're watching the movie, like, she can just barely afford to pay these things.
Let
She's
me
been
tell you,
divorced
that's what
twice.
people of Maui have said, that their families have worked so hard for this land and
Yep.
to keep it, and some people are working 2 and 3
Yep.
jobs because cost of living is so high.
Yep.
Like,
But they don't want to give up their land.
no, gosh,
Theirs.
it's their
I
land.
mean, it really
We
is
did
theirs.
enough to the Kingdom of Hawaii as it was, when we annexed them.
Yeah. And I was reading actually a whole lot about that. I can't remember all of it at the moment, but I'll get there in a second. So, long story short, the governor of Connecticut, who is I don't know if this how true all of this is, but the governor of Connecticut is a Republican in a very democratic state, and so he wants to get in real good. He talks to a lady at I think it's at the New London College, and she's very beloved by everyone because she's a neutral figure, and so she's trying to play this thing in to where she can get a company to build land. And the idea at first is not even to take the houses; they're just trying to get the land and whatever, trying to get it fixed. And there's this thing called the New London Community Development NLDC or something like that. They're from NLDC. That's the name of their. It's some program that was created in the 70s. They never used it. They decided to use it. That's his big plan. So at first it's no big deal, but then they find out that they need this land. Well, guess, and this is true. This is 100% true. Guess, Shell, which company it is that's going to come in and give at least 1,000 jobs in this place. Who do you think is going to come in and build?
This back in the 50s?
This is not that far back. This is 1998, 99, right around there.
Oh,
Who do you think is going to come in and build?
I don't know. Trump. I don't know who's doing the building.
Pfizer.
What?
No joke. Pfizer was coming in to build their own giant building for people to work at. And back then, I hadn't realized, like, this hadn't really played out in my head. They were known for Viagra. That's all they were known for the most part. I know. So I was like, whoa, this is super weird.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that should send off some insane red flags right now if you're watching this. So back and forth, and they try to, like, scare this lady out of her house.
Because Pfizer couldn't have built anywhere else.
Just saying.
No, just this poor community.
Yeah, and it's a very poor community. They try to scare this woman out of her house. They try to tear. I mean, in subtle ways, right? That seem arbitrary or, what's the word?
Innocuous.
Innocuous. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. That seem innocuous, but they're not innocuous. Clearly, obviously, right? And so push comes to shove, they take it to the Supreme Court of Connecticut, and basically the Supreme Court of Connecticut says, you guys can keep your houses, but Pfizer can build on the rest of the land. Well, that is super crappy. No one's really happy with it. They end up contesting the people that are, well, not, I don't know if, I think it is Pfizer that's the one who ends up contesting it. And no,
because they want it all.
Right.
Not
they went
part.
I take it back. I'm wrong though. It was actually what's her face's lawyer. The name of the lady that's defending this lady, Suzette Kilo, is what's this guy's name? Well, he works with Institute for Justice, and at this point, right, and they really are. They're like a nonprofit legal firm that does that kind of thing.
Good people helping people.
Yeah, really and truly. And so he looks at the very beginning of the argument by the Supreme Court of Connecticut, and it's very wishy-washy, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And the way it's phrased, he tells his boss at the firm, hey, we could take this before the Supreme Court, like the Supreme Court. And his boss is like, okay, let's do it, basically. They go before the Supreme Court. And this is true. Like this part is like just factual stuff that I looked up and is confirmed. It's the way it plays out in the movie, just like it is. That ruling, Shell, was 5-4 against Suzette Kilo and that small community, and they lost their houses. They all got torn down and everything. And she was not budging. She was like, I don't want to move. This is where I want to be. They ended up tearing them down. They moved all those people out. And the interesting thing, and the thing that I want to bring up about Maui is the argument that the lawyer makes on behalf of Mrs. Kilo is that how can the government determine that transfer from private property to another private entity is a legal framework for public good? That's basically the question, right? And that, to me, I was like,
that's
this
a
is
super
funny.
valid question.
It really is. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, I'm not any kind of legal scholar, but that makes perfect sense to me. Like, I'm not even close to a legal scholar. Like I do a few gigs here interpreting at the courts, and that's about as legal as I am right now. But I thought about it. I was like, that has humongous implications for the government going forward. Well, fast forward to now, and you start to see what they're talking about. And check this out. This is another part. This is another one of those things that I was just like, what? So after this happened, this was the most excoriated, excoriated, right? Hated, excoriated decisions in modern Supreme Court history. Everyone was pissed. Even the people that were in favor of it, they said that they made, the judges, they said that they made a bad decision. Everyone freaking hates this decision. They hate it. And I think this was passed in 2006. After that, almost all the states here in the U.S. started to do eminent domain reform because of this crazy case. They were just like, this is ridiculous. People can't just be kicked out of their house just because some big company comes into town and wants to use the land. That's ridiculous.
Right, against a big company that could have knocked down the old mall.
And at this
because
point,
I'm sure there were 3 more malls.
Yeah, of course, right? And at this point, I think they said that there have been 45 of 50 states that have done this kind of reform on some level, even if it's very minimal. You know, like I look up Texas.
For
Texas
the people or
like,
against the people?
For the people.
Okay.
And Texas ended up being, which I'm just saying because where we are, they ended up kind of being middle of the road. It wasn't great, it wasn't terrible, but you know, it was at least some reform in favor of people. Guess which state falls in the 5 that didn't do any reform?
Oh, Maui.
Of course,
yeah.
Hawaii
Probably
didn't do any freaking reforms.
Hawaii, probably New Mexico.
I have it somewhere.
California.
I don't have it on hand, but I do. I think California was one of them. I was blown away. I was like, of course they weren't. Of course, no wonder people were terrified. And sure enough, back in 2008, there was a legal dispute for like public housing, and they didn't side with the people. I don't remember the exact like kind of ruling around it, but they didn't side with the people of Maui. They got screwed. And so when people saw this on Maui happening, they knew exactly what their government was trying to do to them. They knew exactly. Like, this was not something that caught them by surprise. And actually, in the argument in Little Pink House, they used some of the precedent from Hawaii, from an 84 case. And sure enough, Hawaii still didn't reform any of their stuff. It's outrageous to me. It's outrageous. So if you wonder why these people are pissed, why they're so hurt and angry and furious, besides the obvious, there's
and why they're
precedents.
so worried.
Yeah.
So worried.
Yeah.
Because I think they see the greed in the eyes of the vultures that are circling, and they're already devastated by the loss in their communities, not just of their homes, but of friends and neighbors, family.
It's because that ground is sacred to them.
Right.
It really is. It holds deep generational meaning to them. And that's not nothing, man. I know that
it is not nothing. It's
huge.
There are few things that are more sacred than the land of your people.
Speaking of the land of your people, and I'm just going to finish out my thoughts with this. Guess what happened with Suzette Kilo and the rest of those people that got removed from their land and evicted? What do you think happened? There's nothing there to this freaking day. There's nothing there.
So awful.
God,
that's
idiots.
So irritating.
And what happened? Pfizer left in 2011 when they stopped getting tax breaks. So you tell me how much for the public good that kind of crap is. That's why
It was only for the shareholders' good.
Yeah.
Only for the shareholders'
Absolutely.
good.
It was really only because the governor, I mean, obviously he wanted to scratch everybody else's back, but he was actually posturing to move into like a presidential run. That's what he wanted to do.
Yeah, and who do you think was going to be a major donor to his campaigns?
Of course. Crazy, right? I thought it was so ironic when I heard that it was Pfizer. I was like, Holy crap! That's
just
a bombshell piece of information for
un
this podcast. It's
like
crazy.
you couldn't write stranger fiction.
I know. I know.
That's
And it was so funny because I realized like how much of
absolutely
a
astonishing to
it
me.
was astonishing to me too. It was so funny because I didn't even realize that they had made they had made Viagra, but like the whole bit through the whole movie was like, what are they gonna do? Freaking take our houses and give us boners? Like, I thought it was hilarious, man. It was very funny. It was very funny, man.
Where you can't use them because you don't have a home.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's such a case of insult to injury. Oh, that's
yeah.
infuriating.
So if you guys still don't think that we live in an oligarchical, authoritarian, fascist state,
Tyranny.
if not fascist, at least tyrannical. I don't mean to say I don't love the idea of our country and the things it was
You
founded
know what?
on. None of those
Because
things.
here's the deal. You
Yeah.
you see your dad sick, right?
Yep.
Your dad is sick, and you
Yep.
see him on some massive decline, and you love him, but you hate what you see happening to him, and it doesn't diminish your love for
Right.
him.
Right.
You want to you want to do anything you can to um, rescue
Yeah.
your dad from this disease.
Certainly.
That is exactly the way this is. We love our country. We
Yep.
don't love our country less because it
Yeah.
is ill. We
Right.
want
Right.
the
On the
the
contrary, right?
cure. We want the cure to the illness so
Yeah.
that we can see it thrive again. So our children and our grandchildren and their children
Yeah.
have a place. Cat move.
Well, and ultimately can fulfill the calling of God on their lives, which, in grand part, obviously, is the Great Commission, right? But we're
Right.
but we're first and foremost called to reproduce, right? To grow the earth. I mean, I don't see any reason that that's changed. I'm not telling you guys have to go out and have a million kids or have any kids. I'm just saying,
Right.
I got
No,
into
but we're supposed to have dominion. We're supposed to have
yeah,
dominion over
exactly.
ourselves, our lives,
Not the voting
our
machines.
land that is our land. Right. Yeah, no, not those voting machines. I don't know what
Uh,
dominion they come from. Shh. You know, you can't smack
um, Yeah, man. I just was blown away by that. I was like, it's grotesque to see these same players doing the same crap
and
25
they're
years later.
doing it with like they don't hide the agenda. None of those things that I've listed today hide have a
Yeah.
hidden agenda that
Yeah,
like
no,
we're
no.
like, oh, I wonder what they're trying to do. You want to take my guns. You want to
Yeah.
shut me up. You want to move me off my land.
Yeah.
You want me to sit down, shut up, and do what I'm told. Here is my free bread and my circus so Caesar can rule the way he wants to rule. And I hate that people have lost sight that that is the age old trick. You want to talk
Hmm.
about um, thinking about Rome. Cicero wrote that when they decided that they were going to um, assassinate Caesar on the Ides of March, they it was because he had made the statement, um, I can rule any way I want so long as I give the masses their free bread and their circuses. So long as our
It's
tummies aren't totally empty and our brains are empty and we're entertained and somewhat satisfied with our needs,
what do you
we let our government do whatever.
absolutely. What do you think, Shell? I know you know this term this quote. Hard times create strong men create easy times create weak men
Weak
create difficult times.
And then
Do you
difficult
think?
times create strong men.
Yep. Do you think that it is specifically because of sin that that cycle exists? I do.
Oh yeah, I know, I definitely do too. You see that again and again and again played out in the history of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
like from Adam to today.
Yeah.
And not just Israel. We see it played out in our own lives in
Have you?
different society, every society.
I think it's oh geez, so what is that? What is that guy's name? Tim had on. I don't know if he had him on or they were just read his book, but this guy talks about. I think they did have him on. It was about a year ago or so. He wrote a book about the rise and fall of empires, and that there are like I want to say it was like 40-year cycles where essentially what we just talked about happens like basically in
It's a
40-year
generation.
cycles.
Yeah, one generation, next generation, next generation.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And that
we
seems
definitely see that. And we're at the generation of
weak man hard
the
times.
children of, yeah, of weak men. That's where we're at. And
Yeah.
I think it's up to us if we're going to allow it to go on or if we're going to stand up and say enough is enough.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what, for that matter, if we're going to get on our knees, because um, we were talking about why it is that we believe things are going to get worse before the Antichrist comes to power. And I think part of it is because no nation wants to give up its sovereignty. And things have to be really bad for us to look at some noob and think this dude's got the answers. Let's make him our leader. Um,
Which is actually part of the reason that I think it makes more sense for the for kind of end times prophecy to kind of roll out a little bit slower than everyone kind of tends to think. Like everyone swears right now Jesus is coming back tomorrow, and I'm like, dude, I don't think so, man, because
well, he's not, because there are way too many markers we haven't
well, there's too many
hit.
markers, but also mentally and psychologically, you and I are like abso-freaking-lutely no. Like when I see the dude, I'm not gonna buy it, and our generation is still around. But
Hmm.
as we commented in the depopulation agenda, when the baby boomers die off, like there's gonna be an exponential drop in humans,
Oh yeah, it's
and
something.
that is gonna leave a huge vacuum mentally, emotionally, physically, and all the rest. And so I think that that's where we're going to start to see a lot more of these things take root because the technologies are already up and coming for what's coming for the next generation. Um,
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
So I think it's a psychological preparation that's necessary before that can play out.
Well, where I was going with this
Sorry, just
vein
want
of
to put that in there.
thought, though, is that we don't quit voting. We don't
Yeah.
quit calling our government on the carpet for bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
We don't throw up our hands and say, well, it's just how it's got to be so that the Antichrist can come to power, so that Jesus can come back for his bride. That's not what we do.
It's not
That that
biblical.
is
Yeah.
that is not biblical. The word of
No.
God says overcome evil with good. Which seems like, I think that doesn't sit well with people. What am I
Because
supposed to
we don't know
do?
how to do it.
To to execute good in the face of evil?
I mean, that
Well, it's
requires
very
huge
hard.
sacrifice.
It does, and it's very hard to do when they're calling evil good and good evil, and up is down, and blue is black, and black is
And somebody
rainbow, and
somebody made uh, a comment on our Facebook yesterday or today, and it was in response to something that I had talked about. I liked it because it was most of you and I's thoughts. I think a lot of us uh, not afraid to talk about Nephilim, basically, group. And he was talking about aliens. Well, where are aliens from? And the government's trying to, make it kind of smooth it over with us really easy, this and that. And people are freaking out. Like, how did this happen? And he's like, we've told you guys, it's the Watchers. We told you guys from the get go. They came, had sex with women, and they're the Nephilim. Blah blah blah. Right?
I
And
think that was a couple days ago, but I know which post you're talking
yeah,
about.
well,
It's a
all
good
kind of
thread.
burst together now.
Right. It's a good
And some guy
thread.
responded and said, "Oh, if you think that, then you must think that all governments are satanic and this and that and blah blah blah." And I go, "It doesn't matter. That's such a small-minded comment. Sorry, whoever you are, dude. If you follow us, that's cool. I'm not ragging. I'm just saying, it's a small-minded comment to think that just because maybe I do believe those things, maybe I do, maybe I don't, but whether I do or not does not."
Just chillax, boys.
Relieve me of the responsibility of fulfilling the mandate of God. It doesn't
Right.
relieve me from that. So
Right. You know what? And so, what does the Bible tell us
lots of
about
stuff.
our government?
Oh,
It tells us to pray for those in authority over us
yeah,
because God puts kings on the throne and he deposes them.
yeah,
It tells us if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways and seek my face, then I will look down from heaven. I will hear their prayer and I will heal their land.
heal their land.
It doesn't say vote the right people in.
Yeah,
It says pray.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
word tells us to obey the laws of the land in so much as they don't um, go against God's
Sure.
laws, because he will always be the supreme. And the whole reason that the Constitution has any validity at all is because we are endowed by our Creator with
Yeah.
certain unalienable rights.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So he is the one that gives us um, success. He is the one that really defines the course of nations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we are not to sit idly by. We are to do his part in accordance with his will and to pray that his will is done.
That's a really good point. Two things come to mind. One is the the parable of the talents. I think I understand that a lot better in this context because
Yeah, that's true.
we, as image bearers of God, we bear the image of his sovereignty as well. And so if we squander our sovereignty, then we're squandering our talent. Within reason, right? I mean, God has the ultimate say, but
Settle.
our job, excuse me, our
My
job,
dogs have gone insane in here.
they're probably tired and ready for bed too.
They want to play. Settle.
Oh, opposite. Gotcha.
Settle.
Poor guys.
The trusty water bottle, I'm
Zivachu,
telling you.
I just lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, the level of sovereignty. If we squander that level of sovereignty, I believe we will really pay dearly for that. We really, really will. And the other thing is, with regard to that, I guess with regard to how we employ that sovereignty, I think I'm speaking to Westerners, but super specifically to Americans, guys. Man, we need to remember that God's design is organic. His design is meant to undermine the lofty and powerful things of this world. It was made that way on purpose, and so
Yeah.
that's why we all have this sort of affinity towards grassroots stuff. That's why we have such an affinity. Thank you, Holy Spirit. That's why we have such an affinity to music that's raw. Like when we talked about Oliver Anthony, right? Like we're drawn
Yeah.
to this authenticity. We're drawn to this organic
Mhm.
production of something. Is he super talented? No, he's not one of the most talented guys in the world. But he's speaking something that is true enough that it resonates with us, and that is God's power at work. That's the word of God at work in that power is
power
alive
of
and at
God,
work in
right.
the world. When we see something that any other way shouldn't have any impact or weight, but God uses it for his own
Yeah.
divine good purposes. Yeah.
Guys, I feel like we are at a place where we can close pretty well. Obviously, this conversation will continue more.
Glad we did,
Please,
Cosmo.
please go back, read the Constitution.
You can pick one up at Barnes & Noble. Get them while they're still available.
Right, there are those. Print one out offline.
Print it out offline. You don't have to pay for it if you don't want to. I just
Nope.
like having one.
Be familiar again with it, because if we forget what my dogs are insane. If we forget the laws, the rules, the safety nets we have in our favor, then nefarious actors in positions of power will stomp all over them.
Yeah.
They're trying now. They're testing the waters. They've been testing the waters and testing the waters.
Yeah.
It seems like for a little over the last five-ish years or so. You know what? Honestly, it may be because I was younger and too busy with very little ones to recognize it beforehand. But I'm going to say that I saw this really speed into high gear in 2001. In 9/11, when they did the Patriot Act, and when our Congress did not declare war, but our president did, and our Congress said, meh, it's all right, and our Supreme Court said, meh, everybody agrees it's cool, do it. That's when we saw the water start rushing in. When you have a house on a hillside and it's prone to flooding, but you keep your basement totally secure and sealed, you're safe. But if you get just a little bit of erosion at a corner, that water starts tunneling down, and before you know it, your basement's flooded, your foundation's gone, and your house is in a very precarious position. And that's what we are. We're a city on a hillside, or we're a house on a hillside, and there's a lot of rain coming. And if we don't make sure that our foundation is sealed really well, we're going to find our house flooded with water. So, if you haven't read it this month, read the Constitution.
Yeah.
Compare it to what you see going on in our nation in particular. Maybe other nations, if you're in other nations, because I swear to you, when I see something happen in America, I see a mirroring of it in Canada, in England, in Israel, in Australia. Like, you just see it and you're like, oh, look, so-and-so's going through this. Oh, so is their prime minister and their president. And they're all being brought up for the same similar charge. You see that a lot. Oh, they're locking us down. Oh, they're locking them down too. Oh, they got locked down too. Oh, they have it too. Wow. So you know what? Every nation has a different set of governing documents. And right now I can't think of the charter that is England's. Oh man, it's right there. Whatever. Read your charters. Read your constitutions. Look at what your laws are. Familiarize yourself with them again, because we forget parts. And I'm telling you, rain is coming. You're on a mountain. Are you looking?
Magna Carta, is that what you're thinking of?
The Magna Carta. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
Yep.
Guys, my people perish. Where is it?
Yeah, man.
My
For lack
people
of
perish
knowledge.
for lack of knowledge. Is that in Nahum?
I don't
I
know.
think that's in Nahum.
I'm about to pull it up. Let's see.
Um,
Hosea 4:6.
oh, Hosea.
Yeah.
My people perish for
Man.
lack of knowledge. We have to have fresh knowledge and
Fresh
understanding.
understanding. Seeking
And not that it's
context.
new or different, it's that we forget parts. We,
Yeah.
maybe one part's more important to us now than it was then. And so we didn't remember it from before. Um, this is important. I know it's not as fun as scrolling through Facebook or TikTok or whatever, but it ensures that you have the right to freedom to scroll through what you want to scroll through.
Yep. Boy, does
without somebody telling you you're not allowed to think that way. You're not allowed to be at that place. You're not allowed to say those things.
Yeah, man.
We'll lose it. We will lose our rights if we don't protect them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and our government's not going to do it for us because
Oh,
they don't care if
they
we
will
have
do the
rights.
opposite.
They would rather us not have rights.
Yeah, they would much rather us not have rights. Yep.
Oh, guys,
I think that's it.
I think that's it too. We have some really cool things coming up.
Woo! This is gonna be crazy. By the time this airs, it won't even matter. But I'll just announce it anyway.
But it's for us for today.
So tomorrow, well, for me, it's later this evening.
Right. Yeah. Gosh. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning. At 8 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Mountain, 6 Pacific, and Eastern at 9 p.m. We will be going live on Facebook. If you guys want to come hang out with us, we would love that. You missed it if you didn't get it by now. This announcement will be old news. But we also have our CosmoVision, sorry, our regular CTDW episode coming up. Episode 20. Holy cow.
Is it? Woohoo,
Episode number 20.
How did that happen?
Yeah, well, God's good, man. Episode number 20. I'm thinking if all goes according to plan, we'll be talking about the thin places, which really has to do with the slipping between worlds, realms,
Or
I guess
dimensions.
is a better way. Yeah, whatever we're gonna call them. I like realms, but I'm not the final authority by any means.
Realm is good. That encompasses all of it, but the thin places.
Here's the thing. I'm a strong advocate for a non-multiverse. I believe in a universe.
I also believe in a universe, but I believe in multi-dimensions in this.
Yes, I agree with you. There's
universe.
multi-dimensional aspects to a universe. So, anyway, so we're going to hopefully be talking about the universe. It's multiple dimensions, it's realms, it's crossovers, how that plays out. I don't think it's super clear, and we're working on it. And on Tuesday, we will be recording with a friend of ours from the Prometheus podcast. Caveat, guys, we were not planning this, and so we're still not going out of our way to seek out interviews, but interviews have been seeking us out. And so,
crazy.
we're going to play it by ear, man. We're just trying to be obedient to God, and we both feel peace about if people approach us that we're happy to, engage, but we're just going to sit the rest of this year out because I think that God's got some cool stuff planned for the rest of this year and the coming year, man. Very, very cool stuff. So anyway, do you want to give the blessing?
Absolutely. Guys, thanks for being with us.
Love you guys.
Father, bless and keep all who are in earshot tonight.
Yeah, man.
Make your face shine upon him. Be gracious to him, Lord. Turn your countenance on him. Keep your gaze upon them, Lord Jesus, and bring your peace, your shalom to them forever.
Man.
Amen.
Man, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. Man and amen. God bless
Amen.
Maranatha and
Maranatha,
shalom.
guys.
Love you guys.
Shalom, shalom. Bedtime. Yeah.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Christian Theological Dark Web. For questions or comments, please email us at thechristiantheologicaldarkweb@gmail.com. If you'd like to support us, please look for the Patreon link in the description. This has been another production of CTDW Studios. Thank you, and God bless.